All right, so welcome again to the Kresge College Fall Family Orientation. Today we have a few hosts with us. Just to begin, we have my Auntie Fernando, who's our provost for Kresge College. We have Kathy Cooney, who's our associate director for College Student Life at Kresge College. Mike Yamauchi Gleason, our senior director for College Student Life at Kresge College. Sarah Shane Vasquez, our academic preceptor for Kresge Advising Office. And lastly, my name is Francesca Mia C. Victoria. I go by Mia, and I'm the College Programs Coordinator for the Kresge Programs Office, and I'll be the moderator for this session. So what we're going to go over today is a warm introduction to Kresge College, our Kresge curriculum, followed by our Kresge Advising Office, Student Life, and lastly, my office, Kresge Programs Office. So I'm going to hand off to Mike.
Hi all, as Mia said, I'm Mike Yamauchi Gleason. I'm the Senior Director of College Student Life for Kresge, Porter, Oaks, and Rachel Carson Colleges. So I oversee all the student life functions such as programming, student life, and things like that. And I work very closely hand in hand with the academic side of the house. Both the academic and the student life side of the house work closely together to provide support to our students and to our families. And Mia, you want to do the next one? So just a little bit about the colleges, if you're not familiar with the way we're set up. Basically, we have 10 residential colleges here on campus, and Kresge is one of them. And what it basically is, it's that small liberal arts college feel inside a large research university. I've had the opportunity to work at small liberal arts schools as small as 400 and large research universities as large as 20,000. And I chose to come here to UCSC as a staff member 20 some years ago because of the college system, because it provides that really small college feel with all the resources of a large university. So the colleges really are like home base for all our students, even though students will take classes all across the campus. And we have majors represented, or students represented in all our majors across campus. It's just kind of their home base. And Advising will talk a little bit more about their role with their students, but really the way it works is they have that college advisor who really helps them get through and know what they need to take to graduate and to provide support for them. The other thing that's nice about the colleges, because it's so small, for Kresge, for example, we have approximately, I don't know, about 400 or so residents, and maybe a little bit more, that live on campus at Kresge. And so our residential life and our academic life, they really get a chance to know our students well, particularly our first year students. And so it's really a good launching pad for our students. One of the things that we try to do throughout the year is help our students become strong advocates for themselves. And some of them will become already ready for that. They're pretty good at advocating for themselves, but some not so much. So this is a good opportunity for them to really learn how to advocate for themselves, because here at Kresge and UCSC will probably have the greatest access to resources than they will at any point in their life. So this is a really good opportunity for them to learn and grow and to seek out as much help and support as they need. Kresge has been known to be kind of the rebel radical college, maybe not so much as it used to be in the 70s and the 80s. Kresge did secede from the university back in the late 90s. So they were kind of on the leading edge of a lot of our major protests and student concerns. When Kresge first opened up in City on the Hill, the student newspaper, they described Kresge as the next door neighbor that always left their garage door up. And it's kind of that individualism and that kind of openness that kind of reflects what Kresge is about. And we're glad that your son or daughter is joining our community. So I'll hand it off to next.
Okay, I think that's me. And me, I think there's someone in the waiting room if you want to. So my name is my Auntie Fernando. I just became the Kresge Provost. And so I'm still learning the ropes. I am an associate professor in the anthropology department, so I teach about contemporary politics, mostly contemporary politics and religion in Europe and the United States. The Kresge, so as Mike just said, the college system is really unique in sort of any institution in the United States, in that it's a kind of living learning community. And so part of what we do at Kresge and at all of the colleges is teach what's called College One, which is also known as the core class. And so Mia, maybe you can go to the next slide and I can talk about that. So the cornerstone of the colleges is really this College One core class, which gives students a sort of a foundation in how to learn in an academic environment. And so there's a kind of general campus-wide approach to learning what is called the ACMEs, which here it's the academic literacy and ethos, but it's analysis, critical thinking, metacognition, which is learning how one learns, engagement across difference, and self-efficacy. And so the entire university, Frosh, across the university, really learn what are called these ACMEs. And the goal is to prepare students for successful participation in an academic community. So it's kind of a building block class, no matter what major they end up being a part of. And so the classes are really small. There's 25 to 30 students. It's really an opportunity to be in the small community, because often Frosher are taking very large introductory courses or large GE courses. So this is a class where they can meet each other. They can really have a lot of hands-on feedback from the instructor. And there's also what we call peer navigators, who are older Kresge students who can help Frosh navigate not just the core class, but the academic community that they've just become a part of more generally. So that's the kind of general ethos of College One, but each of the colleges also has a thematic or particular kind of theme that their specific College One focuses on. And at Kresge, the theme is power and representation. And so when we say representation, what we're talking about is the way an individual or a community is seen or heard or understood in American society. And power refers to the privileges and responsibilities and the ability to represent oneself and others that's distributed across American society. So that's the kind of thematic focus of the class. We read a lot of nonfiction, we read traditional journalism, so written journalism, we do a lot of audio and visual journalism as well, and other forms of media. And part of what students learn how to do is recognize different kinds of media, different kinds of audiences, different kinds of genres. And it's very much a reflection and discussion oriented class. And so it's really an opportunity for Frosh to come in and learn not so much what to think, so not so much content, but form. So how to think, how to do critical analysis, how to think about the way that they learn. How to talk to each other across, on sometimes contentious topics, how to be a college student really is what this class is teaching. And so there are a lot of creative assignments. We have what we call a commonplace book. And if there are questions about this, I can specify later. An oral history project, and then a creative intervention. That's the final project that students do. And so it's really the building block for the university, and it's a building block for for Kresge students who go on to be all kinds of majors, whether it's in STEM or arts or humanities or social sciences or whatever. But this is a kind of building block to enable them to do well in those majors, whatever those majors may be. So that's the core class, that's Kresge One. And then we also offer electives. And I think that might be the next slide. So, I should say, first, one of the things to write in your calendar or put in your phone right now is that the first plenary, which is when the entire Kresge Frosh class gets together, is on Wednesday, September 21st from 5 to 7 p.m. And right now it's scheduled to be in person, just because it's a really nice opportunity to kind of get a sense of your entire community as Frosh. But obviously, given the world we live in now, that is subject to change, and we may end up going on Zoom if that's what COVID guidelines require or seem to make sense. So, so that's the first thing to just sort of put in your calendar. Mia, if you could go to the next slide. Thank you. We also have what are called electives or enhancement courses that a lot of them are 2 credit rather than 5 credit classes. And they're sort of in lab form. They're practicums or experiential learning oriented classes where students get a chance to apply some of the things that they've learned. And these are ways, so part of the reason that they're 2 credit classes, this is a really nice way for students who are, let's say, taking, are in a heavy load major and want to do something interesting, but can't really afford to take another 5 credit class, a 2 credit class in something like a journalism class or a creative writing class, or we offer a natural history practicum. Those are 2 credit classes that really nicely supplement the sort of major driven education that they're also getting. And this is what Mike meant in some ways when he was talking about the colleges being a kind of small liberal arts oriented community. This is an opportunity for students to grow as people as much as they are as students. So if you're, an MCD bio major or a computer science and engineering major, or even a sociology major, you can take a 2 credit class in creative writing and just expand your horizons a little bit. So that's what the electives are for. And I'll stop there. And if there are, should we keep going, or do you want to? Maybe we can go into advising and then see if there are questions.
Yes, let's proceed with that.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Sarah. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the academic preceptor for Kresge. So you'll notice that a lot of folks at UCSC have these wacky titles that are completely incomprehensible. So what that means is that as the preceptor, I lead the advising office. So I advise students. Your students can meet with me one-on-one, and I also supervise the other advisors in the office. So there's 3 of us who work for Kresge Advising. Students can meet with any of us. They don't have an assigned advisor, so whoever's available first, we'll be glad to meet with them, answer their email, etc. So that's who I am, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how advising works, kind of what we do, what students can talk with us about. So next slide, please. Thank you. So I'm a college advisor. Mike explained about the college system. So as a college advisor, I'm a generalist, right? I can help students with most questions they have. We always tell folks that if they have a question or a problem or an obstacle and they don't know who to talk to, that the college advisor is a really good place to start. And we can't help with everything, but we know who can. So we can absolutely direct students on to another resource when needed. A lot of what we do with first-year students is helping them choose what major they want, helping them prepare for that major, understanding the requirements, the classes they need to be taking. We also work with students experiencing academic difficulty, and when things aren't going as planned, if a student needs to withdraw from a class or take a leave of absence, we work with them on that. In addition to that, we also can work with students on all of their non-major graduation requirements. So in order to earn a bachelor's degree, they need to finish their major, but there's other things too. There's general education requirements. They need 180 credits. There's a number of things outside their major, so we help with all of those. And then, as I said, we're a good connection point to other campus resources. So along with their college advisors, students also have a major advisor. So let's say someone's going to major in anthropology, my auntie's department. They'll work with the anthropology major advisor to formally declare the major, to choose their upper division anthropology classes, to get enrichment, to find an internship or to connect with research in the area. So most of the time, first-year students don't do a lot with their major advisor because they're still exploring and they're still figuring out what their major is going to be. So we, as college advisors, tend to be pretty involved with the first-year students, and we support them throughout their whole time at UCSC. After a student has declared a major, it doesn't mean they never see their college advisor again. They still come to us for all these things, just not the, specific upper division major classes. So that's kind of who we are, what we do. Mia, do you mind heading over to the next slide? Thank you. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you, which you can see the URL down at the bottom. If you look for the UCSC advising roadmap, this will come up. So there's a couple of things that we are hoping that all students do in their first year, some advising goals. So one of them is understanding like how this is organized. That's what I just explained about college and major advisors. So if you've got that, you can check that one off. That's one of the things we hope everybody knows by the end of their first year. We also want students to know how to use their MyUCSC portal. That's how they're going to be enrolling in a couple of weeks. There's a lot of things in the portal, a lot of different things students can check, forms they can fill out, information they can find. So we want everyone to be familiar with that. The third bullet point there is super important. Please talk to your students about this. Try to help me convey the importance of this. We really want folks to identify 2 majors that they're interested in and take introductory classes for both of them. There may be one that is a clear front runner that they've wanted since they were 6, and that's what they do, and that's fine. But there are plenty of students who get to college and figure out, gosh, my high school didn't have sociology. I don't actually know what that is. Let me try it. And they take a class and love it and find something new that they had never considered before. So that's why we really, really encourage students to explore and to have a couple of different majors in mind to keep their options open. Also related to majors, we're hoping that by the end of spring, right, so the end of their first year, that students will have kind of figured out what they want to do. Land on a major, their one top choice that they're working on after having done some exploration during the year. And then they talk to us to get that updated to make sure that their student record is accurate with the major that they are going for. Once they've identified a proposed major, we can also help them make a first draft of a 4-year plan. That first draft part is important. A lot of students come to us like now looking to make a 4-year plan, and we can show them how, and we can certainly help them imagine what 4 years might look like. I can guarantee you not a single person follows the 4-year plan they make the summer before their freshman year. It just doesn't happen, but it is fun to think about it and to imagine what it might look like. So it's a good idea for students to have a little bit of a sense of what that might be by the end of their first year. And the last one on there, also super important, is understanding how to excel in college classes. A little bit of that may be trial and error, and if they're having trouble, they can come talk to us. We've got special training in helping students with time management, study skills, understanding what professors expect in terms of coursework. And also academic integrity, so making sure that they're correctly citing their sources, not cheating. So those are the things that we're hoping students will do with us, or in some cases on their own in their first year. And we're really excited to work with the new students. One of my favorite parts of this job is working with the new incoming class every year. So I'm excited to get to meet your students as they make their way to campus. I think that was my last slide, right, Mia? Oh, my last one. So here's how they can get in touch with us. As I mentioned, there's 3 of us who work at Kresge Advising. August 1st through 5th, we are doing group advising for Frosh. They all got an email invitation. If your student did not get an email invitation, they should reach out to us. Our email is listed there, kresgeadvising@ucsc.edu. We'll be sure to get that to them. In addition to the group advising, we're also doing individual appointments, which can be good if someone has like really specific questions, but if what they are wondering is more general, like how does enrollment work, they should come to the group advising. It's going to be really interactive. We'll have breakout rooms. They'll get to meet other students, talk with all the advisors. So There's a couple different ways to get in touch with us. Of course, they can also send us an email, and we're here, we're ready to work with them, and super excited to help them choose out their fall classes and get enrolled. I think that's it for me. Yes, I'm done.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're going to take a moment here to have y'all have an opportunity to ask my auntie and Sarah questions. Okay, I would take that there are no questions. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to proceed with the Kresge Renewal project.
Okay, just as a note, I put in something in Slack. It's really important for your student to be checking their UCSC email account. I know oftentimes they have their own email, but it's important because that's our primary way of sending information. We're not using their Gmail account. We'll only use their UCSC official account, so they need to be monitoring that if they're not already. Kresge Renewal Project. So Kresge is in the middle of a major redevelopment. It began about 2 years ago. And basically we're adding new residence hall style buildings to Kresge. And we are also adding a brand new academic building as well as a brand new town hall. And we'll be redeveloping all of our apartments that are here at Kresge. And so by the end of the project, it's projected to be totally completed by fall of 2025. And we'll add about 900 to 1,000 new bed spaces to the campus. And that's something that we desperately need because our students want to live on campus. Right now, we house about 50% of our students, undergraduate students, which is still the highest percentage of all the UCs, but we want to house more. And our students would like to be here on campus with us. So the Kresge Renewal project will be ongoing. As I said, the first part of the project is towards the end. It's about 2/3 completed. It'll be open. The residence halls, the new residence halls are scheduled to be open in fall of 2023. And so the way the residence halls are, they're 6-story buildings. 4 stories of residential space. There's about 35 students per floor, which includes an RA. And so we're really excited about having that kind of residence hall for our first year students. It's a small community and it's a good way for RAs to connect with them, having a 35-to-1 ratio. The other part of the renewal that'll be opening soon, we're hoping in winter of 2023, is our brand new academic building. And that academic building will house the new college, Kresge College Academic Office, and as well as SciComm, one of our graduate programs here on campus, and Havoc, which is part of the arts division, history of video and something else I can't remember. And then also the writing program will have offices there as well. It will also contain several classroom spaces and a 600-seat lecture hall. And the other thing that was really important about the Kresge Renewal Project is Kresge was built in the 70s, and this was way before any ADA requirements. And so Kresge is not a very accessible college. And so one of the things that was a part of the design effort was to make everything accessible as much as possible. And one of the things that we're doing is we're raising the bridge that goes over one of our gullies, and so because right now it's not accessible because you have to go up and down steps, and so that's hopefully a lot of that work will be done this summer, and we probably will have the north bridge opened up probably by winter quarter when the academic buildings opened up. Some students I have questions about what's it like to be living in a construction zone. It depends on the student, but for the most part, students handle it pretty well. And partly because construction during the school year begins at 8 and usually is done by 4 o'clock during the day. And a lot of our students, especially now that most of our classes will be in-person classes, most of our students will be away from Kresge during the prime building time. And so they don't necessarily hear a lot of the construction noise. And particularly coming this year, the residence halls are going to be well under their way of being completed. So a lot of the noisier part of the construction won't be there anymore, because most of the work is going to be interior work. And so I'm anticipating the noise levels will be pretty low. The only really concern that some of our students had was the North Bridge, which is the bridge that's closest to the academic building, and the one that goes directly to Science Hill is offline. But we have another bridge, the South Bridge, which can get students across campus as well. Depending on where the student lives, it can add maybe 5 to 10 minutes walk to their journey, but it's not too bad, and it is accessible to our students. So that's the major building that's going on. We work with our student senate, our student Kresge Parliament, which is our student senate. We have regular updates with them. We've held town halls with our students around the construction project. Students were really engaged and participated in the design of the buildings, in the design of the layout. And so that was a really nice opportunity for our students to provide input. And so we're excited about the program. As I said, there is construction going on, but it's been pretty manageable so far. And so I don't anticipate any major problems for our students to be able to live and learn in our environment. And I don't know if there's any specific questions about the Kresge project before I turn it over to Kathy and Residence Life.
Thanks, Mike. My name is Kathy, and I'm the Associate Director for College Student Life, and I use she, her pronouns. And I work with both not only Kresge College, but also Porter College and our Redwood Grove. Mia, can you advance my slide? Thank you. So within our Student Life program, we have a lot of staff here to support your student while they are here for their time at UCSC, whether it be a transfer student who's here for 2 years or an incoming first-year student who's here for 4 years. The first staff is the resident assistant, or RAs, and these are peers. They're upper class students who have gone through about 2.5 weeks of training before the students come. And they're really the first point of contact that your student will have living in community. There's one RA per maybe 30 to 40 students, and they will live right there in the apartments with your student. The training that they have teaches them how to plan programs and events for students, what kind of resources we have on campus and how to refer the students to them. They're there for mediating and supporting students through conversations around roommate conflicts, as well as, just to support your student if they're having a rough day, struggling with a class, maybe in the beginning of the year, being a little homesick. Really just a great support network for our students. The next staff members, we have our coordinators for residential education, or CREs, and these are also professional live-in staff. So they're living right there in the community, and they're folks who have chosen this as a career path. So they have elected to go advance their education in higher ed. Most of them have master's degrees, and they've committed themselves to working with students in a residential setting. The CREs supervise the RAs, and they also have contact with students, whether it be assisting with conflict or crisis, as well as working with student conduct or potential policy violations. Then there's the Assistant Director for Residential Education, or ADRE, and Angela, our ADRE, supervises the coordinators for residential education and is more in a dual role of frontline student contact as well as administration. Myself, I've been at the university for almost 19 years. My role is to manage the student life side of the college. So I work with residential life and the programs staff, which Mia will talk more about in particular. And then our last two staff members are our housing coordinator and office coordinator, and they too are frontline staff that work with your students in our housing office. So our housing coordinator works with room assignments, and if there's a need to do a room change, our office coordinator manages the front office, assists with lockouts, general questions that come up as well. And then Mia, our college programs coordinator, will talk more about what her office does and what she does in particular. So I want to highlight a couple different topic areas, and then we'll be able to, after Mia goes through her slide section, we'll be able to talk more about questions you might have about res life and student life. But a couple things that I want to highlight around student well-being, safety, and security is on campus. We have a fire station. City of Santa Cruz Fire Department has a hub here behind Crown College, and they're available 24 hours. We also have a UC Police Department, but more importantly is our community safety program. And our community safety program are professional staff members that work in the college between 7 p.m. and 3 a.m. There is a core group of staff members who work with our students every night that usually ends up being about 3 or 4 of the same folks. And then occasionally we'll have someone who might sub in, but they will be able to get to know your students in the evening hours. So they ensure that like doors are locked and things are safe. If your student would like to have a walking escort across the college, they're happy to do that. But one of their more common roles is locksmith, and they help your student get back into their room when they lock themselves out at night. And they work from 7 to 3 a.m. and students will get their phone number when they come to campus so they can put that into their telephone. We also have a cruise alert system, which is like a reverse 911, where the university uses it very sparingly, but only when it's really critical to get messages out to our campus population. And students will need to sign up for cruise alert. And I've got the webpage listed there on how to do that. And students can input their phone number, their cell phone number, their email address, and that way they can get alerts in various ways. So like for myself, I have my email, my office, and my cell phone, just so that I know that information, not knowing where I'm going to be at any time. Another great resource is our Student Health Center, and we are a full functioning health center. So they have routine medical appointments, doctors, nurses, care providers. Students can go in for same-day care, x-rays, full laboratory, pharmacy, and nutritional counseling. So if your student is interested in having like say a prescription transferred to the university, they can transfer it to the pharmacy here on campus, which might be more easily accessible to the student. We also have counseling and psychological services, or CAPS, and they have psychologists and psychiatrists that are there for the students. They staff members do what's called brief counseling. So, it might be anywhere from, 3 to 7 appointments, depending on the assessment of the therapist as well with the student. But they're also connecting students to longer term therapy off campus, so they can provide resources in the community as well. And then our student health and outreach promotions, or SHOP. And their focus areas are on alcohol and other drug prevention information. They have a great focus on students in recovery. Jorge Bru is the staff member that works with our students in recovery, and a lot of peer connections there. They also work with sexual health and wellness in general. Very popular group that's a popular office that's really led by students for students. So a lot of peer education. Go ahead, Mia. Next thing I want to talk about is access to information. And this is a really big switch from what you might have experienced as a family member or support person to your student. In high school, you were able to get access to lots of different information about your students. So grades, talk freely with a instructor, faculty member, teacher, and other pieces of information were easily accessible. Now that your student is enrolled here at UC Santa Cruz, regardless of age, they are covered under Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, or FERPA. And basically what this means is the student now has rights to privacy of their own student records. So when you were able to ask about grades, you were given that information. Now the student has to provide that information to you directly, or sign a release if that's something of interest. The student can provide authorization on case-by-case situation. So there's no blanket waiver. So there's no document you can sign right now to say, Sarah, tell me all about their academic accomplishments. It's not going to be there. But if there's a situation in which the student may want you to talk to Sarah, they have a choice and a right to decide that themselves. Students can authorize access to financial information and housing, so the billing through housing, through their housing portal. They can check a box and give that authorization where you could talk about your housing, students' housing bills. And then students can also use their My UCSC portal for e-bill and e-check payments, and then invite a parent or other payer to access their account information. So you're not going to get the bills, tuition bills directly, but there's a way the student can set up if you want access. The important thing is that you have a conversation with your student about what information you feel you need to know and the why behind it, to help them understand that really it's about you supporting their time here, and have a good dialogue. And, you know, students, if you're online, have a conversation about what you feel you're comfortable with giving access and your whys as well. If you do need information or have questions, we can talk about as staff members process or procedures. So for example, let's say that you're concerned your student is not attending class. We can talk about the relationship that faculty may have and how it's not uncommon for faculty to reach out to Sarah's office, or sometimes us in housing, to say, you know, we're concerned about this student. Can you reach out to them and see, you know, if there's any concerns and how we can connect them back to class? Or, you know, if you're concerned about a roommate conflict, we can talk about the process in which we, you know, work with the student on navigating a roommate conflict, but we wouldn't be able to talk specifically about your student's conflict. A lot of times when we talk process and procedures, you can kind of read between the lines and really figure out some of those approaches and conversations to have with the student. Next slide, Mia. Couple miscellaneous topics I want to share. One is about transportation and bicycles. We have a great transportation system on campus and within Santa Cruz. There's shuttle buses that run through the campus as well as the city's metro system. And the students can gain access to other forms of transportation through the metro station in Santa Cruz. If you're in Northern California, students can go over the hill to San Jose in a bus and get access to Caltrain and BART through some different unique ways of navigating around. We have Amtrak accessibility buses through downtown Santa Cruz, as well as the train station. Southern California folks, if your student wants to fly back home, there's access to the different airports. And then a lot of times students will just find each other and carpool, or families will help each other out. If your student is thinking about becoming a bicyclist here on campus and they've never bicycled before or very little, we don't recommend the bicycle. A lot of bicycles come to campus and sadly they get locked up and never used because students find that we're very hilly terrain. So that's something we encourage students to really think about and talk through first. You know, and maybe if they have access to bring it later, once they figure out how the campus is, you know, to do that. But a lot of times they're here, they're sad and lonely, and then you have to take them home at the end of the year. If your student's an avid bicyclist, you know, they're going to love it and it's going to be a great experience for them. If your student does bring a bike, we encourage a really good bike lock, a strong U-lock, to secure their bikes. I want to speak briefly about routers and Kresge College. Kresge is one of the last communities to have Wi-Fi. Some of the buildings are able to access Wi-Fi from other buildings, but it is important that students bring a router to be able to access internet. And a lot of times we'll have folks talk to each other, the roommates, and then decide, do they want to split the cost or does one person want to bring it? But it'll be important that folks have a router. You might have questions about what's in an apartment. So our apartments are fully furnished. So refrigerator, stove, couch, chairs, desks for their student rooms, chair, bed, wardrobe or closet. So they're fully furnished. Students just need to bring their personal belongings as well as their kitchenware. So we don't provide pots and pans or different things like that. Students can also have a microwave. So that might be something of interest. And then as you're looking for planning to get bedding, is we have extra long mattresses. So you'll want to plan for an extra long mattress. One of the things that's beautiful about being on a campus, college campus, is the ability to access so many resources on campus. So just a couple that I wanted to highlight, as your student has the ability to apply for jobs on campus, and some off campus that are affiliated with the university loosely. We have work study and non-work study employment opportunities, but the students will need to apply for work study. If work study is a part of their financial aid package, they do need to apply. We now use the Handshake platform, which is also a great platform to help connect students even after college. We have over 200 clubs and organizations that the students can get involved in. They range from fraternity, sorority, social, educational focused, identity based. So lots of opportunity to get engaged and to find something and that may be of interest to them. We have 6 identity-based resource centers. Many of our students get involved, lots of opportunity for student internship and volunteering, and they provide many, many programs on campus, both social and educational. There's tutoring, a writing center, and so many more resources on campus. If your student's not sure where to find something, or you want to know what kind of resources available to support your student, those are things the RA can assist with, but also if you were to call and reach out to us, we could help you navigate and identify some resources. Your student hasn't even moved in yet, but we want you to know some important dates about winter break and also move out. So please put this on your calendar because your student may forget to tell you until the last minute. But winter break is from December 10th through January 6th. And during that time, your student will need to leave housing. So the students can leave their belongings, but they'll need to take what they want to take home with them and vacate their residence during this time frame. And the campus even closes, so those of us who are faculty and staff also need to leave the campus during campus closure as well. And then the last important date is Friday, June 16th, and that is the last day that student residences are open. Students may leave earlier than that if their finals are done earlier, but you do want to put June 16th on your calendar as well. So move-in is an important question that I know a lot of you have right now. Some important details. Mid-August is when the room and roommate information that will become available for your student, and that will be on their housing portal. So that's the same place that they applied for housing, and they'll see that information and their roommate's contact information if they have authorized that information to be shared. It's most of the time it's shared. There are occasions that a student may opt not to share that information, but most students do. In late August, they'll get early details about moving in and how to sign up for an arrival appointment time. So they will need to look at the schedule and determine with you or without you a arrival time in which they plan to come to campus to check in. The week of move-in, specific details about how to check in will be sent. So the roommate information, but the important one is that late August, how to sign up for an appointment time. And then our move-in days are September 15th and September 16th. And we will split the time frame. So half the Kresge class will move in on that Thursday and half the class will move in on Friday. And the students will be able to pick that time when they receive their late August email. And last suggestion about move-in that we have is please pack lightly. Students will want to bring everything with them because everything is important, but most of the time they've overpacked. So, if you are able to encourage them to pack cyclically, which is what I try to encourage, bring what you need for fall, take that home, bring for what you need in winter, take that home, bring back for spring. That helps provide enough space in their apartments. Perfect, and that's yours. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kathy. Alrighty, so this is the last topic, my office, Kresge Programs Office, and myself, I'm Francesca Mia C. Victoria. I go by Mia, and I'm the College Programs Coordinator. So who are we? So as a Kresge Programs Office team, me and the Assistant College Programs Coordinator, we oversee 3 to 4 student leaders team, and that includes our 4 programs assistants who plan and organize programs and events throughout the whole academic year. We also oversee the Welcome Week Orientation Welcome Leaders. They are the OWLs, and these students would be your students will meet first during their welcome week and move-in. They are there to assist your student to have a smooth transition, adjusting as well adapting and getting resources. They will also be working with us throughout the whole fall quarter, providing programs and events ranging from small to large scale events. We also oversee our student government, which is Kresge Parliament, and as well as our Kresge Presents Pride Planning Committee. They are responsible in hosting the annual UCSC Pride March and Festival. So what do we do? Our purpose is to provide community building opportunities as well as learning through our events and programs that align with Kresge's ethos and the needs of our students. When it comes to brainstorming programs and events, we thrive from receiving students' input and feedback, and most importantly, collaboration. Not only do we collaborate with other campus partners as well as other college programs offices, we also like to collaborate with your students. If any case they have an idea they like to put out, we are open to it. Programs and events that we've done in the past, we've done the annual welcome week, which happens the day when your student moves in until the Wednesday, the day before the first day of classes start. We've done quarterly themed festivals, which range from like Halloween, Valentine's Day, as well as spring quarter. Those were one of our like most popular events in our Kresge College. And as I mentioned, we do collaboration. So cross campus would mean campus partners as well as different colleges programs office. So for example, we did a large movie screening of Encanto at our Quarry Amphitheater. And lastly, we also oversee and execute commencement. Some of these small to medium scale active programs, we typically host open mics, comedy night, painting events, as well as succulent planting. These are our very popular events that meets the interests of our students. And it's, as you can see in your left, these are some of examples of what we've done the past year. So in 2021, Kresge celebrated its 50th anniversary. And in spring quarter 2022, Kresge Parliament hosted the Kresge College 50th celebration. As you can see below here, Sammy the Slug is dancing their heart out at Kresge Presents Pride Festival. And Sammy the Slug is the mascot for UCSC. Here are more examples of what we've done. Open mic, as I mentioned, is popular. Music is such a huge thing and a huge interest among our students from years to year. Kresge Parliament, you can see they're tabling at Kresge Presents Pride. One of our popular welcome week events is a night hike in Upper Campus, where the orientation welcome leaders take students to Upper Campus and just have a fun tour as well as share some ghost stories here and there. And lastly, on the bottom right corner, that is a glimpse of our Halloween festival at Kresge Lower Street. So those are some examples. And what we have in store is, of course, Welcome Week, which is coming soon. As I mentioned, it will kick off at September 15th, the first day of move-in, until September 21st, which is a Wednesday, day before first day of classes. So what are ways that you can find out what's going on? We highly recommend following our social media, especially Instagram. We are very active. And there are 3 Kresge affiliated Instagram accounts. At Casey_UCSC is our programs office, and that's most likely where we'll be posting upcoming events and programs. Kresge_college is the account that is run by a student intern who works closely with the provost. And then lastly, Kresge Parliament, which is their own student government Instagram account. As some of my colleagues have mentioned, we stressfully encourage your students to start practicing checking their UCSC email, because most likely anything regarding about Kresge College and the UCSC information will go to your student, especially our programs events. That's where we directly communicate to your students. So we strongly encourage your student to start practicing checking their email. Another way to find out what's going on, we have a Google Calendar, which is available for the public view, and that's part of our Kresge College website under the Activities tab. In that tab, you'll be able to see what our office is about in more detail, as well as the teams that I've mentioned. And also miscellaneous information regarding of like how your student can get involved, where they can hang out, socialize, etc. We're also working on revamping our Discord server, which we found was popular among our students to communicate with one another. And as I mentioned, this session is recorded. We do have our Kresge YouTube channel, and this is where our recorded session will be uploaded. So here in this list is ways of how you can get access of keeping up with what's going on with Kresge College, as well as my office. And that's about it. And here we are in general Q&A.
First question was, are there shower curtains in the apartments? There will be a shower curtain that will be provided. It's your standard industrial shower curtain. Most students will choose to get their own shower curtains and make it a little more homey, but there will be one to start them off in case they haven't decided on what they want to make their bathroom a little more homier. Their question was, is there res hall housing for students? And I believe it was non-apartments. We did have some students that expressed interest in the res hall, and we were able to provide them the opportunity to live in a small Kresge cohort. But if your students will either be in Kresge College proper or in this small cohort, and they need to live in those first communities that fall quarter because of their Kresge 1 course. So we want them all kind of living together and experiencing that together. If after that they decide they would like to look at a different residential setting for winter quarter, we can look at that and discuss if there's space available. One person had a question about the Summer Edge program. If you have a student that's an incoming first-year student participating, or a student that's participating in Summer Edge as a transfer first-year student, we do have what's called transitional housing, which is from August 28th through September 1, and that's the transition from the end of their session course. And then that opportunity is to be able to move into what's called early arrival, which will then cover that time until the official move-in date. Students that are here for transitional housing and the early arrival program, there is a fee, and they will move to their fall housing on September 1. There's a question about four-year housing. The university does not offer four-year housing in terms of a guarantee. We no longer have a housing guarantee, but we've been working with priority, and your first-year student or your incoming first-year transfer student did have priority for assignment this year. Each year we evaluate what priority can look at, like based on the housing spaces that are available for this upcoming year, and looking at demand by student interest in on-campus housing. The new construction will provide more beds for students in the future. Starting with our new first-year class, we'll be able to be housed in the residence halls. You know, we work with wait lists. Students that are not in a priority group will apply and be on a general wait list for housing. We also have a great office that works with off-campus housing opportunities, and that's called Community Rentals. And the Community Rentals office offers an online renters workshop where students can learn about searching for off-campus rentals, how to understand landlord-tenant laws and their rights as a renter, as well as has different postings where folks may list their rental with the university, or if folks want to find a roommate, students may post that they're looking for roommates as well. And then my last question that came up, Mia, through this up to the one called Richard's iPad is there flexibility for international students to move in? And my understanding is through the International Student Services Office, if you're a degree-seeking international student coming in as a first year, I believe there may be some orientation programs that you may need to attend, and they would provide that information from their office. We do encourage folks to arrive on one of the two move-in dates because there are some required programs that folks may need to go through for academics, or if they're part of a university office or employment that might have some expectations. But if you absolutely can't arrive on those dates, we'll work with you individually to accommodate your need. So those are the ones that I saw early on, Mia. So we have time to be able to have hands raised, or more may have come in.
Kathy, there was a specific question, routers
Yes.
and the type. How about Wi-Fi router? Is it just a work extender? Any model brand recommended?
So with the router, the router will be plugged into an Ethernet port. So that hardwired port. I'm not exactly sure what an extender is, and specifically a brand or models. Students tended to know that's more information ourselves versus what I have known. So I'm not sure. I don't think it needs to be anything of expensive. I think a basic router can work.
We also have an office called ResNet that might be able to provide additional information. And there was a question about Echo Village. Is that one of our themes this year, Kathy?
Yes, we do have the Eco Village. It's in building 11, and it's kind of, we call it one of our theme housing, but it's really students that apply for the Eco Village are folks that are interested in how do we sustain? So it might be environmental sustainability, it might be human sustainability, and how we're living in community, and the impacts our current climates have on both the environment as well as on people. So folks have a passion and interest together. We may be able to do some programming around that. The RAs may do some theme programming. A lot of our students may get involved with Common Ground, which is a program that's sponsored here by Kresge College as well. And I think the second question is at the same setting, meaning 2 or 3 roommates. Our apartments will range from 6 people to 8 people. And those will be in a combination of the 6-person apartments, typically 2 triple rooms, and our larger apartments have a combination of single and triple rooms, occasionally a double room as well. So your students will have roommates, just ranges in size depending on if it's one of the flats or suites. And they'll learn that information in August when they get their roommate and room information.
And I believe there's one more question, indoor bike storage in the dorm.
There is no specific storage inside for students. There are bike racks around the college. Some students will store their bike in their apartment if there's space, and after talking through with their roommates, if that can be accommodated. But most students will lock their bikes up at the bike racks.
And I believe that was one of our last questions.
And I need to jump off and join the Oaks Family Orientation Program. But once again, welcome. We're glad you're here. We're looking forward to working with you and your son or daughter. And I hope you all have a continued good summer. Take care.
Bye, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Me, if I could put one more plug in.
Yeah, go for it.
We hope to have one more of these sessions as we get a little closer to move in. I'm not sure if my Anthony and Sarah will be able to join us at that time, but we definitely want to be able to touch base with all of you to, be able to answer questions you might have about move-in in particular. And we got a question here, Mia. A hand raised.
Yes. Yeah, one more question. I asked about, is there any sort of like storage between summer edge and fall? I think it's about 3-week period.
Storage in particular, only if the student is participating in the transitional housing and early arrival housing. So the students can participate in those programs, move their belongings in, and if they don't want to stay, that's fine. But other than participating in those programs, there isn't any specific storage for students.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much again.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for making time. And thanks to all of you as well.
Thank you so much.
See your question about registration. So a lot of classes look closed right now, but they are going to open on the morning of enrollment. So a lot of departments do what's called gating, which is where they're saving seats for brand new students. So they're not open for continuing students to enroll in. So classes that look closed right now could have open seats on enrollment day. but that's not a guarantee. There's not like a list of classes that are gated. So if there's a class your student wants to take that's closed right now, it's a good idea that they also identify a couple of alternates that are open in case they're not able to get into their top choice. And students can also waitlist classes if they don't get in, you know, on their first try, and then they'll get a seat if other students drop. That is right. So if they're in the 400 or the 500 tier on Alex, it means they can start right in with a calculus class. That'll be Math 11A or 19A, depending on their major. If they're not sure, I can help. Send them my way. One thing to note is that the Alex score does not satisfy the math general education requirement. So if they are in a major that does not require math, they will still need to take something for that math GE, which doesn't have to be math. There's some other options under that umbrella, but that's right. No pre-calc if they're in the 300, if they're above the 300 tier. All right, you're welcome. I hope you have a good evening too.